All right, viewers. So at a time when the protests rage on the streets of Kolkata, the Kolkata police is under fire for summoning those who raised their voice for justice, who sought accountability. There are a number of prominent citizens in West Bengal, especially the city of Kolkata, that were summoned by the Kolkata police for what the police deems as spreading misinformation. One of them was Dr. Kunal Sarkar. The man leading the protest from the doctor's side was summoned by the cops today. The West Bengal police has accused Sarkar of compromising the victim's identity and spreading misinformation on the Kolkata rape and murder case. Earlier today, doctors led a march to the police headquarters over the summons. The medical fraternity has slammed the cops for levelling baseless allegations, calling it an attempt to gag whistleblowers or those raising their voice against a compromised system. Now, the doctors have vowed to fight till justice is delivered. Meanwhile, you've had the TMC that is urging the doctors to get back to work. But in midst of it, the spotlight now on the Kolkata police, because they are taking legal actions on some who have spoken up on social media and others, some of them very prominent citizens of Kolkata who sought accountability. Some of them took to social media to post videos of outrage, and at the back of those videos, the Kolkata police has summoned them. Now, like I pointed out, one such person was Dr. Kunal Sarkar. He, in fact, last week itself was on my show where he spoke of multiple factors that worked in compromising the current case and investigation. Listen in. Dr. Kunal Sarkar, away from the politics in this current case, is there now a definite need for a larger law which governs the safety of our health workers?
Absolutely. There is a need of a law, Preeti, but I think how can we have laws when in a civilized society we cannot have a transparent, logical, straightforward investigation of a banal and blasphemous crime without giving into these aimless political distractions? The best way to divert the court of justice today would be to succumb to the political whataboutery. There should be only one objective right now, and that objective is the city, the state, the government should be completely steadfast in having a transparent investigation of this case. There has been enough knee-jerk reactions. There has been enough distractions. And once we have a closure on this case, we need to sit back and discuss what constitutes professional management of hospitals. We need to sit back and discuss what constitutes doctors' safeties in the workplace. But that cannot be at the cost of hijacking with this political agenda, hijacking yet another human crime and a human sacrifice. Precious time is being lost. The weight of evidence is getting eroded. And very shortly, all this will simply be washed away from public memory as yet another abortive incident of a helpless girl seeking justice.
All right, so joining me right now is Dr. Kunal Sarkar. He's an eminent heart surgeon. He's been very vocal about the case and he was summoned by the Kolkata police. He's not alone. There have been many others. Even a TMC Rajya Sabha MP was also summoned by the Kolkata police. Dr. Kunal Sarkar, the allegations, he's with us right now. Appreciate you joining us, Dr. Sarkar. I believe you were summoned by the Kolkata police. Can you take us through on what were the reasons on which you were summoned? Because officially we are told it was for spreading misinformation.
Look, it's almost reads like a little bit of P.G. Wodehouse because they were misinformed about their misinformation. Because what they basically did, they picked two of us up, I think two people who've had for varying reasons a decent social media viewership. They have been heard and what they have said has been discussed, whatever. So they had two premises, Preeti. One premises was that, they had some kind of generic complaints. One generic grievance they have was that repeated divulging of the girl's identity. Now that is bad enough. But you see, the times have been so peculiar. The girl's identity has been revealed inadvertently not less than 3 times by the Calcutta police themselves. The girl's identity has been revealed at least twice by honorable members of parliament who belong to the ruling dispensation. And then, what has happened is sometimes out of mischief, sometimes out of carelessness, a whole lot of people discussing this case especially on Bengali social media, have taken liberty to post photographs and give her names. That's, fair enough. But you cannot single out two people and start making generic complaints, because none of us, whatever conversation we've had, that, rightly or wrongly may have gathered a large enough audience, but neither of these two people summoned today had anything to do with diverging identity. And the second thing they said was that spreading rumors. Now, we did not go into the depths and details that how do you define a rumor? What exactly is a rumor? Because when you don't have facts, when you don't have updates, when you have all these hearsay going around political conspiracy theories, there are bound to be, a whole lot of fragments of information hanging around in the air. And we are concerned, we do listen fairly avidly to the national media, to the local media. I really think this rumor mongering has been expanded, exaggerated out of scale. And again, once again, there was no specific instance where either myself or my colleague who was taken today, Dr. Goswami, could be pointed out. So, they were very cordial, they were very friendly. They, in the very beginning of the conversation, they just brushed aside the summons and said, let's discuss the fact that all the society is aggrieved, Calcutta is fractured, people are feeling unsafe, they are feeling insecure, and how do we go on repairing these broken bonds in society? So the rest of the discussion was on these lines. And that forced me to make a comment. I said, look, these are very warm, sincere discussions, but this is almost like you asking somebody, inviting somebody to a birthday party by issuing a summons. So I don't even think that the police department does it very often. We could have had as a civil conversation, because you've seen the photographs, there were depict videos, there were 100,000 people accompanying us. The whole of central Calcutta was in a state of paralysis. The whole media, the 100,000 people, mostly of medical fraternity, they were with us. So was it necessary to cause this social aggravation again, as if we've not enough? So I don't really suspect their intention, but I really think they are getting so far they have got their public relation methods very wrong. And we have said it in no uncertain terms that in future, anything related to like this, you want to speak to us, you want to speak to a doctor, you want to discuss certain thing with a journalist, with a YouTuber, learn to have a social engagement, a civilized social conversation. Why do you need this Vietnam-like posturing of issuing summons? There were about 5,000 policemen, 100,000 people on the road. God knows how many layers of barricade there were. So honestly speaking, it probably made for exciting television, but all of it was largely unnecessary waste of resources.
But, Dr. Sarkar, the fact is you're an eminent personality. There was much talk that you're going to be fighting the election the last time around. And just one day before the Independence Day, you put out a video which goes viral. And you actually call the Kolkata police chaprasis of the current dispensation. So I'm clear there must be something that they've taken heart on that account. But, coming to a bigger question, Dr. Sarkar, which is misinformation. Because like the Sushant Singh Rajput case, there's been fair amounts of misinformation in this case as well. And the allegations are that some, even though citizens who meant well, started perpetrating and putting, out there information which wasn't coherent or correct. Therefore, spreading in terms of rumors and outrage which came at the back of incorrect information.
Yeah, you see, I mean, the first person who is credited with spreading fake news as a social tool was actually a long time back. It happened to be Alexander the Great. He used to do it before each and every of his campaign. So it is almost a historical phenomenon, nothing new. It's only the technology has changed. But the question is, fair enough, that is an important point. But if you have singled out two people who made some comments, then do bother to be specific. Because Dr. Goswami, my other colleague who was summoned, he's in the government sector. Now he's made a lot of this. He's discussed the postmortem report in reasonable detail in the media. Now that report was made available to him by the family. And most of his comments, there was some misspelling about a milligram and a milliliter, stuff like that. But honestly, there wasn't much to debate about that. So there are points specific for which I'm sure police around the country has cyber cells, cyber security. You have all these people who are flushing out and verifying fake news. It's not something which is very unusual today. But that is fair enough. But you look at the matter in very simple perspective. Only the other day, when a football match was cancelled, you had a stadium of 150,000 people sitting in an empty stadium just to protest. There are more street protests planned later on in the week.
True.
So as if the city is still boiling and simmering.
No, there are no two ways. Dr. Sarkar, there are no two ways that Kolkata is raging on, and it should, keeping in mind what's happened. The charges are that certain people who are prominent enough to be taken very seriously and should have weighed their words, in terms of revealing the identity of the victim, one, in terms of making public an autopsy report, two, are both illegal to do as per the Supreme Court. And number one. And number two, because if one misinformation by someone who's perceived to be very informed is put out there, then it takes a life of its own because it's believed by that many people. And the echo chambers, you and I both understand, are very sensitive at this point of time.
No, your points are quite logical. Nobody debates. That is a very common sense point in civil society. But as I told you, Preeti, to the point in specifics, that the two people they had summoned, myself and the other chap, none of us had anything to do with revealing the information. And by the time the autopsy was discussed or whatever, yes, you have a point that unless it is made through sort of kosher channels, should the autopsy be discussed? I'm not so sure about that. But the autopsy, honestly speaking, is widely available. I think it's available as a reference document in the internet right now. True. It is available. Right. It is available. It is available in the forum. And if there was a factual point in question that you had a point, you're welcome. But there are ways and means of raising it. Is it important to paralyze a city by provoking a situation, having 100,000 people parade behind two real, sort of very ordinary doctors? The whole of central Calcutta comes to a halt. I think in these days of technology and communication, there would have been other sensible ways of doing it.
No, you're very right, especially at this point of time. There are other ways of doing it. Let me ask you a political question, Dr. Sarkar, because the TMC and all, of course, one would hope that the Kolkata action and the politics is not connected, but is alleging that you have been a left sympathizer and therefore are trying to whip up emotions at a very sensitive time against the incumbent.
Preeti, I have had nothing to do with the left. It's like asking a tiger to be vegetarian. So I've never been remotely a leftist in my life. The only leftist person I ever admired in my whatever little smattering of history has been Ho Chi Minh, and that is where it stops and ends. So I've never had any kind of left leanings. Yes, I have leanings towards. I reserve my right of criticizing, commenting, appreciating of what happens in life and living around us. If there is something funny being done by the left, by the right, by the far right, by the loony left, I reserve my citizens' independence to call it out without carrying any label on myself. I do not. There has been n number of situations, be it medical, non-medical, social. We have called out the BJP n number of times as well. And I has been one of the biggest upholders, like it seemed to be a crazy health scheme that TMC brought around called Swasth Sathi, where 10 crore people were given. We criticized it, but we supported it as well. We
Okay.
were one of the fewest people
So
who
you hold
implemented
no
that.
candle for the BJP or the left, you're saying?
I hold no candle for anybody. I just carry a little torchlight in my pocket. Whenever I feel an issue merits it, I shine the light on the merits and the substances of that issue.
In hindsight, Dr. Sarkar, my final two questions now. Do you, of course, the manner in which the Kolkata police is reacting, especially by issuing legal notices at this point of time, summoning people who are raising their voice, is bizarre, one. Number two, do you think the Mamata Banerjee government now realizes that this is organic and they really, especially Mamata Banerjee, needs to understand that if she needs to keep what has been her biggest vote bank, women, constant, she needs to actually address the situation? Do you think the message has hit home?
I think, well, I'm not sure. I think the message is there, but whether the message is hit home is the $1 million question. And this is a big paradox, Preeti. I think you summed it up very nicely. Why is this a big paradox? You consider Mamata Banerjee herself, a person who resurrected herself after more than 20 years of political oblivion, a person who is a product of public engagement and public movement. Whoever, I think you will struggle to mention the second figure in contemporary Indian history who has done this. So it is baffling that how a person with Mamata Banerjee's political track record and political upbringing is a kind of distance from the pulse of the people today. And it is not, forget about all the political wisdom and theory. I think for restoration of normality, Bengal is not swimming in a sea of plenty anyway. If we have an unproductive week, it will paralyze the state. So for the sake of our life and living normality, giving the middle class people of our state some comfort, some confidence, I think the source of the public connect has to be the chief minister herself. No one else can fit into that role. No one else can.
Right. Dr. Sarkar, final question. For somebody who himself is a doctor and you've been this vocal, summoned by the cops today, the larger question, is it time now for the doctors to go back to the hospitals, or do you think there is still, reason to be out there and protesting?
Priti, I am absolutely, if this distraction didn't take away 2 to 3 days of our schedule, we were actually starting an engagement and conversation with with those places like Arjikar, etc., who are the epicenters of this disturbance. Because look, as you realize very well, that doctors will have to have a balance between their protests and the patients. Bengal, the people of Bengal are tremendously dependent on the government hospitals, more so than any major Indian state. So yes, we will carry our grief, we will carry our dissatisfaction, but the time was ripe, absolutely there, that we will have to balance our protests, our grief, at the same time. I wasn't absolutely happy with IMA shutting the outdoor, the entire countrywide outdoor. I still think that was a bit of a knee-jerk response. But it was announced, fair enough. Sometimes solidarity comes at the expense of intelligence. So we went through with it. But you could not be more correct that time has come for us to address the people who are coming to the hospitals being greatly inconvenienced. And we doctors have to balance these two factors, without a doubt. We have to. It will be painful. We will have our own grievances. But such is our life and such is our responsibility. It has to be done. And that is
Right.
where the bridge building would have started without giving into these tamashas and these distractions.
Dr. Sarkar, appreciate you joining us and taking up the time, sir. Thank you there. So that was Dr.
Thank you so
Sarkar.
much. Be well.
Thank you, sir. He was summoned by the Kolkata police for what the Kolkata police alleges misinformation. Not just him, there have been other doctors as well. There have been people on social media. There have even been a TMC Rajya Sabha member who has been summoned. Misplaced priorities? Many would think yes.